What's going on, everyone? Happy Saturday to everyone. Welcome to the Saturday edition of the Climate Update for Saturday, August 12th, 2023. Maui, the fires continue to burn. They're now at 85% contained. However, there is a big issue. Maui, the death toll is now up to 80 and continuing to rise. It is likely that it probably will go over 100 at this rate as search and rescue operations continue. As you know, this fire originated from a hurricane that passed south of Maui, but the models never had it remaining intact, and it really did. It was almost a major hurricane when it was passing to the south. It was close enough that it provided some strong gusty winds over dry ground, and, well, that's just the perfect recipe for wildfires to break out. We have another important news story to tell you about. Record-breaking summer. Jacksonville, Miami break daily highs. Temperatures, records. It's the hottest July ever. And around the world, yes, the Earth officially recorded its hottest July ever. First off, August 9th, Jacksonville, Florida set a new daily record high temperature at 99 degrees, while Pensacola, Florida tied its record daily high at 97 degrees. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, set its second consecutive daily record with a high of 94 degrees, while Miami set its third in a row at 95 degrees and broke its all-time heat index, a measure of how hot it feels outside when considering for humidity, a sweltering 113 degrees. So yes, it has been very hot, but it doesn't stop there. New Orleans broke its daily record temperature for the fifth straight day at 100 degrees above its previous record high of 98, while Miami and Fort Lauderdale also set daily records at 95 degrees. This is on August 7th. And let's continue on here. August 6th, Phoenix tied its daily record, 114 degrees, while New Orleans broke another daily record at 100, and Key West, Florida, broke its daily record at 94. And here you go, August 5th, New Orleans set another daily record with a high of 100 degrees, while Phoenix had 116 degrees. And this just goes on and on and on. I mean, we could go back here for a really long time. You get the point. It has been a very hot summer, and when you see the Climate Prediction Center, you're going to see that is actually going to continue. All right, taking a look at the satellite picture here, some current weather, and you can see here, we do have a cold front that is over the Great Lakes, a trough that is trying to come in. It's not a terribly strong trough. It's just one of a series of fronts that's going to move through, but we do have a fairly significant risk of severe thunderstorms across portions of the Ohio Valley, Pennsylvania, and the Northeast, and you'll see there's an enhanced risk area out there today. We already have ongoing thunderstorms now across the Tennessee Valley. We have more threats out west. Let's take a look at the hazards map for today, and you can see now there is a watch that has just been issued. Look at this. A tornado watch is now out for portions of Ohio, northwest Pennsylvania, and across portions of New York State. There are already a tornado warning and severe thunderstorm warning. So this is a significant threat. Look down south. There is now excessive heat advisories and warnings up. And in the northwest, there are also, again, excessive heat watches up there as well. So the heat is continuing, and now we have another round of dangerous severe weather. Let's take a look at the national radar picture here. I'm going to refresh this to make sure it's most up to date. There you have it. You can see strong thunderstorms are already ongoing. Strong to severe thunderstorms in Ohio, and this event is going to last throughout the afternoon. You can see Nashville, some severe thunderstorms for you. Memphis, you're not done yet. You have more showers to the northwest. If you see any sun, that could become thunderstorms. And look at this across Kansas and Oklahoma. Scattered showers and thunderstorms. Let's take a look at today's air quality index, and you'll see the air quality across the country is worse in the Northeast. And the problem we have with that is, been talking about it all year long. When you have poor air quality, some of those particles can get worked into the thunderstorm activity, and that can cause increased energy in the atmosphere. So we'll have to watch how this event plays out today. We also have some bad air quality out here on the West Coast as well, but what you do not see in the United States at the moment is a plume of wildfire smoke coming down. That is some good news. Now we have to get to this. So there was a mesoscale discussion out for across portions of Ohio Valley and Pennsylvania and New York, but that has now been, it's now a watch. You'll see here, there is a tornado watch now out in this area. This is relatively concerning. Let's take a look at the probabilities in the watch. And you'll see here, hang on, there we go. You see the probabilities. Moderate risk of tornadoes within this. Low risk of EF2 or greater. High risk of severe wind. Hail is at moderate as well. Let's take a look at the actual enhanced risk area for today. 5% chance of tornado probabilities. Wind is at 30%. And you can also see there are other risk areas today as well. And there is a hatched area for hail. And look as we go back across portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, even into Texas, Colorado, and New Mexico. Yes, there's a risk of severe storms there today as well. What you do notice with the risk in the Northeast is it does cut off pretty quickly as you get to the I-95 corridor. New York City is still on a slight risk. Philadelphia is not included, as the timing of the day it's likely to be too late. And plus, we already have ongoing thunderstorms from this boundary that's set up, so we'll have to watch how that plays out as well. Moving on, today is not the only day with severe thunderstorm threats. You can see there's a marginal risk in northern New England tomorrow, and then there's this big slight risk that goes from Texas, Oklahoma, all the way into Kentucky and Indiana. Would not surprise me if parts of that get upgraded to an enhanced risk. I think there could be potentially maybe some sort of a mesoscale convective system or a low that develops along this boundary, and then we have to watch day 3. That same system is going to have a severe weather threat across portions of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic. This slight risk, it could get expanded further east. We'll have to see how that plays out. Let's take a look at the Weather Prediction Center for excessive rainfall. And let's go to day 1. You can see there are some slight risks of excessive rainfall. One just north of New York City, another for Pittsburgh and Cleveland, and then this bigger one that goes back across the Central Plains. And tomorrow there's a bigger slight risk of excessive rainfall. And day 3, there will be a threat as well from Philadelphia, New Jersey shore, back west, down through West Virginia, and then another one across the Great Lakes. Monday, I am concerned about flash flooding in this area because the dew points are going to be running relatively high. Let's take a look at the latest threats from the Hurricane Center. Nothing to talk about, but I am going to show you something later on. That could change in the next couple weeks. There's some signs. Maybe the tropics will come to life. Don't quote me on it because it's been quiet. Right now, you can look here. It's very quiet right now. And we've had a few threats in the past that fizzled out into nothing. That could be what ends up happening again. It's El Nino. Tropical activity is usually less in El Nino, but anything that does form, there are very, very warm waters out there to contend with. Let's take a look at the HRRR model for today. Here's the 15Z run. You can see, look at the initialization here. Not doing too well across Ohio. As we know, we just saw, and I can go back to radar here and show you. Let's change this here, and I will show you that on radar, we already do have ongoing thunderstorms across Ohio. Look at this. Some very strong, look at this, tornado-warned thunderstorms. So the HRRR model, as I am showing it to you here, it's currently underdoing convection. This is for 18Z. Now, if we advance this, it doesn't really evolve all that much. Later on, though, as we get into this evening, New York and Pennsylvania, it really blows up. So this is concerning to me. If it's underdoing now, but blowing up later on, that's telling me there could be a significant risk for thunderstorms across these areas, and it is something we're going to have to watch. I think the tornado threat is real, and I think that's going to be an interesting aspect this afternoon. But the wind threat, you'll have to see how that evolves as well. Because if you get a cool pool, which is basically colder air behind thunderstorms, if that develops, this could, in fact, stay intact a little bit longer. So again, I'm not impressed for the I-95 corridor, but there's some wildcard factors. If this does keep going, it would keep going for the I-95 corridor. Alright, let's take a look at a slightly longer range, and we can see here, there will be that next threat of severe thunderstorms tomorrow night across portions of the plains right on into the Ohio Valley. The GFS is a little bit further north. This is that low that's going to develop and create a flash flood threat and severe weather threat for Monday. And you can see here, it does move into the mid-Atlantic region, but also look behind it on the backside of this low. Some pretty strong convection showing up for Chicago, and it doesn't move all that fast. So that is of concern. You could definitely have a significant flash flood threat in Chicago on Monday, and even for Detroit as well. As we head into Tuesday, finally, the system starts to spread more east, but it really doesn't clear the picture until Wednesday, and even on Wednesday, there could be a few isolated showers that remain. Then we watch what happens in Florida. There will be a trailing cold front that becomes a boundary that just gets stuck in the south. Watch what happens here. Day after day, from Florida on up to North Carolina, even into Virginia, this thing tries to push back northwest. And by pushing back northwest, the boundary and tropical moisture get forced upward along this. And you can see, we do have showers and thunderstorms. Even up into Virginia, that moisture may even work its way up into Maryland and Pennsylvania as the week goes on. So we'll have to watch this. It's going to be stalled down there for quite some time. There definitely could be flash flooding threats with this, because you know, down south, when you have a stalled boundary with high moisture, high precipitable water boundaries, and you get enough forcing going and moisture convergence, you can really get some impressive rainfall amounts. All right, moving on. I do have to show you the Canadian now. The Canadian also stalls this boundary in the south. You can see, stalls for day after day, eventually gets pushed back northwest. Then this guy comes in right here, and that's of concern as well. And this guy is an upper level low. That could get mixed in. That could pull some moisture northward. We'll have to watch how that plays out. And you can see, if you're in the Rocky Mountains, there is definitely going to be some monsoonal moisture that shows up here on the Canadian. There could be a tropical threat in the Pacific. And if that gets worked up into here, that could provide moisture as well. Now look at the bottom right corner of the model. Yes, that's a tropical threat in the Gulf, in the Atlantic at 240 hours out. It's pretty far out there, but you know what? Something we have to watch. It's been showing up on the ensembles now, so it's something we pay attention to. All right, let's take a look at some more climate data. As you can see here, drought concerns. They continue in the Midwest, but this system that's coming in, like Chicago and north of there, I think it's going to make a pretty big dent. I also think it's going to make a dent into these isolated areas that continue in the Mid-Atlantic. Unfortunately, we do not see big drought relief for Texas. Let's take a look at some precipitation totals. You can see days 1 through 7, dry in Texas, but look at the moisture in the south. Wouldn't surprise me if we see places along this boundary trend wetter. And it would not surprise me if we see Chicago and the Great Lakes trend wetter as well, because of that system that will move through on Monday. Dry in Texas, not good for the drought, and pretty dry on the West Coast. Let's take a look at 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. Look at this. Well above average in the south and much of the west as well. 8 to 14 days. That spreads northward a little bit further. Well above average temperatures, even across the Mid-Atlantic. The West Coast, it will be slightly above average, but really the core of this is going to be the Gulf Coast region through the plains. Now let's take a look at precipitation. The east 6 to 10 day average, or 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, below average, fairly wet on the West Coast. I showed you that there's going to be that monsoonal flow that sets up and pushes northward. And then taking a look here at 8 to 14 days, continuing to be wet on the West Coast. But look at this, drier in the east. And, you know, that could happen. We'll have to see what happens. Again, we will have this pattern, though, that sets up with these stalled boundaries along the coastal region. So places like Florida, you could end up a little bit wetter in the long run. Alrighty, folks, that does it for today's climate update. We'll probably have another climate update again tomorrow with some more climate news and weather information. I will see you all again next time. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. If you know anyone that would enjoy seeing this content, by all means, share it with them. Have a great afternoon, and I will see you all again next time. Thanks for watching, everyone.